Love Goddess. Welcome to a recording of a new podcast episode. And on a podcast episode, we are talking about whatever happens to you does not happen to you, but it happens for you. And it's been one of my most favorite lessons in life. And actually, I've heard this phrase over and over throughout my lifetime. However, it really sank in about 3 years ago when my mentor was able to communicate a different perspective on that phrase for me. And anything that happens for me, not to me. All the good things and all the bad things are created and put on my life path simply so I can come out much better, much stronger, much more understanding. It is a part of the bigger picture. It is a part of divine guidance. This is how spirit communicates with me. This is how I am learning lessons and being warned against certain decisions. So if I, for example, thought that this person would be good for one role or another, and something happens and I have realized that actually that was not exactly the great decision. So I'm being guided at every step of the way to see things differently. And our biggest challenge as human beings is to really see bad situations as blessings. It's in your mind. There is no such thing as good or bad, actually. The universe does not have good or bad. There is no such thing as good or bad. It's our human thinking has separated situations into good or bad, and we have been conditioned to see things black or white. While I have learned that there is no black and white, there is all sorts of grays, right? And different shades and different lighter and darker shades of that. Now, the way that we have conditioned to think that there is good and bad is preventing us to see the big picture, the general picture. So every time things happen to you, you want to pull back. You want to trust the universe that this happened for a reason. You just cannot see it. 10 years ago, my very first son has been born through stillbirth, so he was not born alive. It was a moving experience for me. It was my time to shift my perspective in life. It was my time to really have a completely different perspective on everything, and how horrible this was to go through in a moment. I trusted that I will see the bigger picture. In fact, I already saw the bigger picture while I was in the middle of that darkness, and there was nowhere lower I could go. I was in the middle of that darkness. I was in a really sad financial situation, and there was literally nowhere lower I could go in my life, and that was the lowest point of my life. Right. And I remember walking into my house where we were preparing for a beautiful, happy event to happen, right? The birth of our very first child. We have prepared the bedroom, and we have put up the mural and have all these cute baby clothes and a dresser filled with baby clothes, right? And when this happened unexpectedly, coming back from the hospital was the most horrifying experience of my entire life. Leaving that hospital with something that I had given birth to, and not even something I have given birth to, was an actual human being, and leaving my son in the hospital and just driving of that parking lot, it was like this slow motion movie that filled every second of my experience with dread, darkness, and just really, really, really dark, sad time of my life. And walking into my house, that I was happy preparing for this event, for the birth of my very first son, for something magical and beautiful to come into my life. Because at the time I was in the middle of other darkness. I had no fun in life. I was we were very frugal. We did not have the extra money for anything, for that matter. And so, we were seeing that like the birth of our child would be that experience that will elevate me and my husband and our family at the time from the dark place, right? And so we were looking at this as a blessing. And when this blessing is taken away from you, you are so mad at the universe. You are so betrayed. You are so betrayed. You are feeling like, why did this happen to me? How did I deserve this? There are all other parents who have no right to have kids because of how those kids being treated, and it happened to me. I was so excited to have this child. And so there's a lot of feeling of betrayal by the universe itself. And if you can't trust, like, okay, it's one thing when a person does some shady stuff and you just walk away from the person. You can't walk away from the universe. Where else do you have to go? There is nowhere to go. So there is this feeling of dread, right? And the way it was, I was seeing the situation, but there was this little tiny piece of light flickering within me that there is a reason to this. I know there is something to it. I just can't see it. And I kept repeating this over and over and over. Like, I trust the universe. I'm still feeling betrayed, but there's something to it. It's gonna present me very soon, and there is something good's gonna come out of this, right? And so and I grew that thought, that belief. And eventually, yes, I have saved up and worked really hard at that time, saved up to buy my very first camera, and that started me on a path of being a photographer. That has eventually led me to sit here and talk to you about how to become a most empowered woman in your life and embody your love goddess. It's been a crazy journey. What a journey has it been? Oh my God. But that was the first step to a huge change in my life. And usually the darker the situation, the bigger the change that is coming your way, right? And so that was one of those situations. A lot of times, this situation, this pattern has repeated itself in smaller versions. I remember having a coach and having a session with my coach, and Selena, and she has shared, no, I was going through something in business, something wasn't working, and I was putting all of my energy, or maybe I was going through some kind of patterns, and I was putting all that time and attention, and I can't remember what wasn't working, and she's asked me, Katya, when did this feeling, like, when was the last time this happened to you and you experienced this feeling? And I had this huge aha moment. I started crying. I had this overflowing feeling, overwhelming feeling, my goosebumps, wow. The last time I had this feeling of being betrayed by the universe was when my son died, and it connected the dots. I was able to see the bigger picture and the bigger connection and how I was still attached to that energy. And from that moment, I was able to face it. And yeah, I started healing this idea of being betrayed by the universe itself, right? And that was about, this aha moment was about 5 years ago for me now at this point. And every time since then, and situations did happen since then. And there were multiple cases when I was working on something so hard. I was so committed. I had this perfect story about it. I had this perfect timeline. It has to happen in this way and by that time and with that kind of result. And I had it all planned out, but universe has different plans, and it would cut it off and it would throw me out. The most recent situation was this year by someone who had a big responsibility in the company, who I had no red flags, has stabbed me in the back and left me all by myself. And since then, I hired 5 extra people to replace that person, but that has allowed for setting up business on the new ground to allow for scaling to the level that I am looking to scale the company, because that person would not have been enough. So it's a blessing in disguise. It's not a betrayal by the universe. It is just a redirection in the right direction. It's your reroute into the path that you are actually supposed to follow. So every time as much as I hate the way things unfold, when they don't go according to my plan and my deadline, and as much as I hate to have to deal with a lot of BS comes with when things seem to fall apart all of a sudden, and it looks like a destruction in a moment, but a few months from now, you look at it and you see, wow, that wasn't at all. It was the beginning of the new level, right? And yes, it's hard. And yes, we feel like we've been, betrayed, and it feels like, you've done so much and you've been aligned and you've been following your path, but something happened and that has blocked from that success that you are working so hard towards. Just know it's a matter of time for that, and it's going to be bigger and better and so much more in line, and if not better, with what it is that you are desiring on the inside. Same thing in relationship, same thing in business, same thing everywhere else in life. So by that illustration, I really want to bring the point home that things are never happening to you. You are never being taken advantage of by the universe, but you are always guided and redirected. And sometimes it takes a step back in order to leap forward. Sometimes it takes few steps back to leap forward, and know that it's simply for you to have the time and opportunity to make it better by following by the universe placing new people on your path, by the universe giving you new perspectives, by the universe shaking you off into a new thought pattern, into a new paradigm. The universe has shaken me into the new paradigm with my child loss, because I have realized life is fragile. I will not waste any other second to suffer and suffocate in this life that I absolutely despised living back then, right? And it has started me on a path, even though through multiple really tiny steps, and it took 10 years to get to this level where I'm at now, and the sky is the limit. But it was a consistent guidance that I followed after life threw a curveball into my journey, right? But instead of being offended by it or being victimized by it and shoving myself into the corner, which I can see a lot of people would do if they're not empowered, but not me. I'm stubborn as fuck. I'm like, nope, that's not happening to me. I'll figure it out, right? And so that has gotten me through that. And a lot of that has to do with me understanding that life is happening for me. It's happening for me, for the better result and a better manifestation of my desires. Nobody's compromising the desires. The loved one that you thought or you saw in that person and all of a sudden you broke up is not the right person for you. Just accept it. Just know that this is a reroute of the universe. Now you know how it feels to be in an amazing relationship, and it feels like a betrayal of the universe. It feels like everything's been unfolding so nicely and so smoothly, and all of a sudden such a slap in the face, right? Just know that's a universe rerouting you in a proper direction so you can have a quicker head start into your new level.